You're welcome. And I want to point something out, at least just to get it out, words or spells. The masculine energy, like you're saying, is more, and I don't know if I have the right language to describe it without sounding like what I'm trying to explain, which is that the masculine energy is the controlling energy. It's the like you're saying, it's the boundary. It's the giving um, direction, and all these words I'm using are highly valued in our society over the feminine energy. And people constantly place more value on the masculine energies, right, than the female and the feminine energies. And it's annoying to me because it's gotten and it makes me upset because, like, everything that's going on in the world is always going on in the world. I've just gotten to the point where I'm like, it's very aggravating to me because I feel like it's holding not just me back, but it's holding a lot of people back. And it's, I know we're close to a tipping point, and I know we're close because I'm annoyed. But it's like the way you're talking, it makes you sound like what I provided for you was more important than what you said leading up to that. And it's not. It's the same. It's just that's what, working together is supposed to be. That's the whole point of the third dimension, I guess, from what I understand, is the whole point of the third dimension is to get the feminine and the masculine energies to work in balance, so that we can take care of ourselves first and then take care of others and move on our journey. And that's the annoying part. It's like, I could even tell, even in your delivery, you seem to retreat a little bit in your explanation and what you were saying. And you shouldn't. I mean, you can say, thank you, I appreciate that. But what I said to you is no more important than what you said to me. So that's also what I've been getting out of meditation this year. This past year is just that, it's not things don't have to be equal in the sense as everybody gets treated equally, but as far as like where we stand in this dimension, everybody's the same. Anything else, any other kind of separation that you make is entirely up here. So that's where I'm at right now. I think the other thing you were saying or when you asked me about meditation is, I don't even know if I can describe to you where I've been in some of my meditation, in my meditative states. Like, I'm not sure I understand it yet. But I know that the more steps that I take, and I said this to, I talk to a therapist too, to keep things moving. And one of the things I said is, like, once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Once you see, and it's that everything is vibration, everything is energy, and it is all one. It's all one. It's not, and it's just, it's crazy how much we, get into the separation mindset, because it's fun, because I think that's a good part of it. It sets up games when you separate things, but it also comes with a lot of baggage.
It's funny because I've been observing and participating in the meditations that Carolyn Elliott leads. And she talks about really relishing and savoring all of the patterns in your life that you think you really hate. So like scarcity, or not having enough money, or kind of always being in lukewarm relationships. And so in some of my meditations, I'm like, I really appreciate that this is actually an interesting game. Like, I'm filled with adrenaline, and I'm wondering what's going to happen in the next phase of my life as I move and as my business changes and evolves. And it's filled with excitement, and it's giving me the opportunity to really appreciate that. And And also, so I'm just like soaking it up. You're like telling me what I should do and all that stuff. And I love it because even just on the friendship level between you and I, because now we've been friends for like probably 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
How old is Declan now? He's 7. So
7, yeah.
And in that time, you have always provided a really healthy and helpful masculine container for me, where even though you're saying words like should, that might be buzzing to people that watch this, you're providing me a backbone because I am still learning to have a healthy masculine energy and to, even if I'm only going for 80-20, I do need to have healthy masculine energy and someone's going to be modeling it for me. And I do get that from you as my friend. And so I wanted to make
I'm glad that I have a purpose.
You have a purpose. And so I wanted to acknowledge that because I think that that's really valuable learning, and it feels good to hold each other up. And I also like that you brought up languaging, because it's something that you and I had spoken about in the past. And you had turned me on to Sam Harris and his meditations.
Oh, yeah.
We had talked about, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like a man's meditation. Like body language and like, or even trying to like curate your voice to have this really velvety experience. Like he doesn't deal with any of that shit. And like, I like that shit. But so one of the questions I wrote out, and I underlined the word feel, because I think it's so funny. I wrote, what practices do you feel connected to your masculine essence when you do? And I'm like, oh, but feel, that's a feminine quality. And I'm like, you should put think in there, but I already written it. And I just wanted to make it a talking point, just because I think that languaging is so important.
It is. And I think that, I'm going to come off. I mean, I'm a little offended when you say feel is a feminine thing. It's not. I don't think it is. I think feeling is just a human thing. I think what you do with the feeling can split into masculine and feminine. So I disagree with you a little bit there, but as far as how do I feel about when I'm doing stuff as a father, he probably no more masculine, and I feel no more masculine than I do when I'm doing things as a father and getting to know my kids, like knowing who they are, like knowing their personalities. But it's like, the what's in our culture, that I think has been labeled masculine. I don't necessarily think that it's always a masculine energy. But the things that I think that are closest to it are like anytime I'm doing like any sort of athletic pursuit, that kind of thing, and just moving stuff around, tactile things like working on, like, working on the car. But even stuff like sewing at a sewing machine, so things that you're using your hands, for, and you're constructing things. That's the kind of stuff that I feel like I start grunting, and I feel like a man, or even after, like, it's the silliest thing. Like, I know that my mom participates in this, the male energy of, like, I will just, if I do something, like I paint a wall, like that night, I'll just sit and stare at it, like, just be like, I accomplished this. I've done these things. I made fire. Like Tom Hanks.
I remember my dad doing that, just like observing his wall that he painted.
Just looking at it. What are you doing? Just looking at my wall. I painted that wall.
Looking at the grass you mowed.
That's right. Mowed that grass. Smell that? That happened because of me. So yeah, I mean, anything like that. But to your point, like when I feel like I'm, doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing insofar as raising my kids and creating an environment like nesting. Like that's, to me, I know it's a feminine concept, but to me nesting is just as much masculine thing as anything else. I mean, you see it, like I said, you look in nature, a lot of times it's the males that make the nest, and then the females go in there and they have their eggs or birth or whatever, but it's not exclusively a female thing, the nesting part. So
that's really rad. I'm appreciating how much overlap there is between the qualities that we would typically separate out in Jungian psych as being like feminine energy qualities and masculine energy qualities. It really is, we're coming into balance.
yeah, very much so. It's getting closer. It's getting a lot closer. And the masculine feminine energies too, I think, is another piece about my meditation journey. Is one recurrent theme has repeated itself over and over and over in my head, is that, like, as I think it's with everything, is that it depends on the context. It depends on the situation. It depends on the players involved, which I think is what is so, awesome about just life in general, in this existence that we have, is that there's just so many variables. To try and control everything, just the more you think about it, it just becomes more and more absurd. And that's where the feminine energy comes in. And that's what I'm trying to embrace, which is, the feminine energy is chaos. It's everything. It's everything. Like the abyss. I hear that word used a lot. It's like, what's out there? I don't know. It's the abyss. That's the feminine. And I'm trying to, I haven't figured out how to fully embrace the abyss, where, like, a lot of times in my meditation, I'll get there. I just don't know what to do with it yet. I'll get to the point where it's like, it's very empty, and it's very just black. It's open. There's no thoughts. And to get to that point is really important, because that's where you're ready to receive. That's where you're ready to be the feminine. And that's where all good ideas come from. It's where it comes from. Even if it's a man that's saying it, that man got an idea, that's from the feminine energy. That's from the abyss. So, it gives you more options and more clarity. It's counterintuitive, because you're saying, well, you're embracing all possibilities. Well, I'm just embracing the possibility. I'm not embracing any one particular thing. And with male energy, it's like, in your environment, you get conditioned for certain answers, for certain things, to do at certain times, or what in your life or whatever. That puts you in a box. And that's masculine. And sometimes that's good. In certain situations, you want to be in a box. When you're in the military, you need to be in a box, right? When there's certain things where you need to be in a box. There has to be rules and boundaries, but we've lost, I think, in our day-to-day lives, the ability to wake up in the morning and just embrace the abyss, embrace the nothingness, embrace all the possibilities. So this way, that's when you get that synchronicity coming at you. That's when, like, all of a sudden you're like, did I just make that happen? Or did that happen? When you start asking yourself questions like that, that means it's working. The meditation is working when you're doing that. And it's awesome. It's fun.
Oh, I love that. I had a thought jump into my head this morning, where I was just like, I was sitting back and I'm like, God is like a field, because a field is open, but the goddess is like outer space. And I'm like, I need to back away from that one. That's too big.
You started going, oh shit, that's where I need to go. I'm not ready.
Yeah, I'm like, ooh, I need another chill the fuck out.
Yeah, it's not a bad analogy. It's like, God it's funny the stuff that I've gotten into, and I've always been into it, but I had a lot more time, obviously. But like with quantum physics and the things that are going on in science right now are all like, it's amazing how much of the same principles are starting to align with what's going on with quantum physics. And it's like, I think if you were to look at God from a that perspective, it's just God is just everything. It's all possibilities, seen and unseen. Right? That's like, that's funny. I just said that, but that's that's a prayer from Catholic Church. That's one of the things you say during the Mass. It's going to come back to me now, of all the seen and unseen.
It's coming back to me too. I'm going to get there.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
That's that stuff is dribbled throughout in art.
That's a Nicene Creed.
Yes.
Which I
yes.
hate, but yes.
There's not a whole lot that I like that comes out of the dogma, but it's sprinkled throughout. You have to sift through the baloney just like everything else. You got a lot of baloney.
There's a lot of seeds of truth, and some of them, or I don't know where exactly in the Bible it is, but it talks about the tare. There's two kinds of wheat plants, or like one's wheat and one looks identical until it's all the way, like it needs to be in full blossom, like already the growth has occurred. And Jesus is talking about clearing out the fields once everything has come to fruition. Like we'll weed out the deception when it's time and you can really see it. Because it will be shown in the light when it gets to full blossom. So
that makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good story.